you watch this show, you know I love a good cast iron skillet. Love cooking in cast iron. One of my favorite things. It just develops such beautiful flavor, beautiful crunch to things. And my grandma Rosie used to make a pineapple upside down cake in a cast iron skillet. And I'm almost positive, I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive it was canned pineapple, the maraschino cherries, and then I think it was like a yellow box cake mix over the top. I'm almost positive. If she didn't do that, somebody in my life did, and it was so good. It was so good. So what I'm gonna do today is something very similar. I'm gonna be using homemade ingredients today, but if you're one of those at home that makes the canned pineapple with the cake mix over the top, those are one of those fast cakes that is just fabulous because you put it in the cast iron, it gets so delicious. So let's start with the bottom of my cast iron here. Now you don't have to use cast iron. You can just go ahead and use a cake pan if you want to and just layer it on the bottom. But right now I've got unsalted butter in there and brown sugar. And we're just looking to bring this together for a few minutes just so it starts to melt. I'm gonna let that do its thing. Don't come for me that I am using a whisk in here. Cast iron is built for war. It can hold up to my whisk, I promise you. So I'm just gonna let this all we're just waiting for this sugar to get dissolved. And while we do that, let's go ahead and get some peaches rolling here. Let's see. We're gonna do a quick peel on some peaches. I'm gonna turn the heat down so I don't go too crazy on that. Ooh, these are soft. Okay, so I'm gonna adjust. Now we've got some soft peaches here today. Sometimes you never know what you're gonna get. So I'm actually gonna leave these peeled so that way I don't mangle them. But if I prefer them peeled, but it's totally up to you. You can absolutely do it this way. And I'm feeling, since these are so soft, that this will just work better for me to do it this way. I cut my peaches like I cut an apple. I know a lot of you wanna take the pit out of the middle, but for me, I just always find this works really well for slicing, so I just do it this way. Let me just give this a nice little stir. Okay, so this sugar has dissolved already. That cast iron was nice and hot when I started. So I'm gonna turn the heat off and I'm just gonna move it off the heat. Let that hang out for a minute while I get my peaches together. For my peaches, and this does work well if you have some smushy pieces because they get all caramelized and delicious, but really this is a very adjustable recipe where if you have super hard peaches, it also gets nice and firm and caramelized. So it's just one of those that's hard to mess up. All right, so I'm doing about, I would say, a 1/4 inch slice on this, maybe slightly bigger. I don't recommend using canned peaches for this one. Those are a little too soft and they don't really get that crust on them that we want, so stick with the traditional pineapple if that's the way you want to go, if you want to use something canned. Now, we've got our sugar here. Let me give it one more little whisk, make sure it's combined. But that sugar has dissolved. It's starting to turn light and caramely. Now notice I didn't grease this pan because look at the amount of butter in here. This butter is going to help it pop right out. And could you just dump them right on top? You could, but I like to get a little uniformity here. My grandma Rosie was an amazing baker. She was from Germany, she had German roots, and she made all the really good things that I don't make very often. A lot of yeast breads and tea rings and the German pastries, and she just did such a beautiful job. And before she died, I got to go in the kitchen with her and say, teach me how to make your famous dinner rolls. Maybe someday I'll do those on the show, but I have a feeling Nancy, my mom, I have a feeling she's gonna come on and do those with me someday, probably before Thanksgiving. Cause it kind of skipped a generation. They don't always turn out as well for me as they do for everybody else. I feel like baking is in your soul. People who bake, it's just in your blood, it's in your soul. For me, I just love the flavor of baking, but I don't necessarily, it's not something that comes super natural to me. Okay, these all fit in perfectly. Now let's make the cake, which couldn't be easier. We've got a 1/2 cup of unsalted butter in here. Let's go ahead and get some sugar. Cream this together. And get rid of some, oh, I got one more peach here. Don't think I'm wasting that. Let's smush that in. And get rid of this sticky one here. All right, we're gonna cream this together and I'm gonna scrape the bowl and do it one more time. Get all the stuff from the bottom. We want this really well combined, but I am not poo-pooing in any way the box cake mix. It was so good. It's so easy. So if you want to do that and make your life easy, please do. Now to this, I'm gonna add a little vanilla. Just a good little dash. Let's go ahead and add an egg in here as well. The egg is room temperature. Doesn't have to be. But man, when you have room temperature butter that you got the perfect consistency, and then you shock it with a freezing cold egg, then the butter gets cold again. Just if you can, just pull your egg out a half hour beforehand, if you can. Just try and get it room temp. It's not gonna break the bank if you don't, but it does help everything come together really well. All right, bring that together. We got some dry ingredients here too. So I've got some all-purpose flour. I'm gonna do about a half a teaspoon or so of salt, and then baking powder. Remember, we're using baking powder on this one because powder puffs, baking soda, soda spreads. So for me, I want to add a little rising to this. We don't need to spread it. This has got a lot of butter in it. It'll be fine. We do not need an assistance from the baking soda. Give my bowl another scrape. We're pretty diligent around here. Sarah and I both agree. You gotta be diligent about the bowl scrapes, making sure you get all the nooks and crannies on the bottom, because there's nothing worse than pouring out a batter and there's like big chunks of flour that are now coming out. All right, so now that this is well combined, another scrape. And now what we're gonna do is just add in the flour mixture, but we're gonna alternate it with a little of our Lamer's milk. I got some whole milk here. We're gonna start with, you know what? Maybe I'll use this again. Start with some flour. I'll do about a third of it. And then I'll do about a third of that milk. This is just ensuring everything's gonna come together well. We'll do another third of the flour. And another third of that Lamer's. I'm gonna do a scrape down and then get the final thirds in, and that's it. That's how easy. This is one of those pantry staple cakes. Nothing weird in it. You just need some peaches. So if you don't have the box cakes mix, this works quite well. All right, the rest of the flour is going in. Actually, I'll start that low. Get the milk in there. Boom. So easy, so delish. All right, give a good scrape. This is also so easy to do with an electric mixer. I know that when this show was Living with Amy, I know she definitely preferred the hand mixer. For some reason, I have just had the worst experiences with hand mixers. She was a pro. I am not. I think it's just working in commercial kitchens. I've always just used larger pieces of equipment. For some reason, hand mixers just make such a huge mess to me. But she was so comfortable with them and always made it look so easy. But every time it's time to make a dish, Sarah goes, do you want the hand mixer or do you want the stand mixer? Every time I say stand mixer, it's just my comfort zone. All right, so now we've got our skillet here. The peaches are on top of that caramel. We're gonna just gently dollop the cake on top. My oven is at 350 degrees. And we're gonna bake this for, depending, you know, I told you in the recipe, you'll be able to find it online. You can do a 9-inch or a 10-inch skillet. It all depends on what size skillet you want, so check it after about 30 minutes with the toothpick test, but it might take up to 40. So you're gonna carefully spread this around, just like that. You don't wanna disturb those peaches because they're all pretty under there. So just take the extra minute, spread it around. Don't forget, when you're done with this cast iron pan, just clean it out with a little salt. Just grab some salt, do a good scrub of it, get all the juices off it. Your pan will be ready to go for your next use. That's what I do anyway. All right, all right, now we're talking. I didn't have to spray this pan, I didn't have to do anything. We're gonna put this in, 350 degrees, we're gonna check it after 30 minutes. Now, of course, we made one here from earlier. I want you to check this out. This is what cast iron does. It creates this crust. You're gonna get this crunch, but the inside is tender and crummy and light. And then you've got sticky brown sugar peaches, but the outside texture, that golden crunch, it's everything.